All right, folks, we have a bevy of news for you today regarding the Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo in general, including updates on some music stuff. What are we talking about there? Like, we were talking about the Nintendo Music app, but also Nintendo released a physical, or at least they're planning to release, you could pre-order right now, a physical album in vinyl format here in the US. We don't even get like album releases in the US, even digitally, besides Nintendo Music. So this is actually kind of crazy, and it turns out they are actually testing the waters. We have some game announcements as well. And look, Nintendo's lawsuit against Pal World might have just gotten a bit of a blow against Nintendo. And depending on what side of the coin you seem to be supporting, this is either a win or a negative. I will give you my opinion when we get to that part of the show. That said, we do have 2 active giveaways going on. The first one is for 3 copies of Age of Imprisonment that releases next week. You're going to want to get in on that so you can maybe get your copy before it comes out, or really the day it comes out. Beyond all of that, we're also giving away 5 copies of Kirby Air Riders later on in November. You can enter both of those through the links down in the pinned comment or in the description. Let's go ahead and get into this first story here, dealing with Bill Trinen. That's right, Bill Trinen from Nintendo of America did an interview, and he talked about a few things, and one of those things has to do with something that's coming out recently. But first of all, it says Bill Trinen knows that fans want Mario Kart World on Nintendo Music. Very interesting. So in this interview on the Washington Post, which I can't show you the interview because it's locked behind a paywall, he said, "I can't go into too much detail, but I can say that it does actually take time and work to prepare soundtracks for Nintendo Music. And that soundtrack is particularly robust. It's a matter of looking at the calendar and saying whether something might fit or not. We certainly heard that people are eager to see that on Nintendo Music." And look, guys, I would suspect probably a year maybe after a new game comes out, you can see it. Then again, we've seen other albums come out much sooner that have released recently. So look, guys, we'll have to wait and see on that front. But Bill Trinen had more comments to say, and they had to do with a brand new announcement today. So before I touch upon his comments on that, I actually want to touch upon the announcement itself, and that is for a Breath of the Wild vinyl music release. That's right. Look at this. Look at this. It is an 8 vinyl record pack. These are literally physical vinyl records you can play on a record player. So let's get to what it says here. From the haunting piano notes of the main theme to the heart-swelling orchestral final of Epilogue, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild has one of the most memorable and unique soundtracks in the epic adventure game series, and soon you'll be able to bring the feeling of traversing the vast fields of Hyrule with you into this world by pre-purchasing the new vinyl collection of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild soundtrack. Nintendo has partnered with Laced Records to bring the sweeping music of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild to fans with collectible vinyl collaborations arriving June 19th, 2026. So kind of like a 40th anniversary release here, a double LP and epic 8 LP box set with both available as limited edition colored vinyl or standard black vinyl, and featuring archival artwork created by the game development team. Pre-purchase for the limited edition colored vinyl collections is available today on the My Nintendo store and at Laced Records. I actually debating on getting my hands on it. In fact, well, how much is it? I actually haven't looked at the price here. Let's go. We want let's go US, Canada, My Nintendo store. Let's see. Let's say we want the 8 LP set. Just kind of, okay, $194.99. Just wanted to put that out there. The two set, let's see here. The 2 LP set is $50. This is obviously a much more obtainable for most people, but if you really want that limited edition colored 8-pack, it's going to be about $200. Okay, getting back to the news here. The limited edition double LP set features blue and white marbled heavyweight discs packaged in a white spined outer sleeve with printer inner sleeve. The limited edition 8 LP box set features alternative blue and gold splatter effect heavyweight discs with printed disc inners and spined inner sleeves. Housed in a rigid board dual slipcase, these limited edition versions will be available directly from Laced Records, My Nintendo Store, Nintendo New York, and Nintendo San Francisco while supplies last. The standard edition black vinyl versions will be available at select retailers. The 8 LP Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild soundtrack box set includes 130 tracks, all newly remastered for the vinyl format. Each of the 8 discs is sequenced around a theme which mirrors the progression of the game experience. Themes revolve around exploring the kingdom of Hyrule, freeing the divine beasts from Calamity Ganon's hold, and discovering the mysteries of the shrines. The double LP set features 34 select tracks, including fan favorite musical cues like the Overworld Day, Great Fairy Fountain, and Hyrule Castle, all chosen to create an oral landscape that transports listeners back to the final days of the Great Calamity. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is one of the first major Nintendo game soundtracks being made available on vinyl outside of Japan, and these collections highlight the game's distinct musical palette, created by composers Manaka Katoka, Yasuki Iwata, Hijami Iwake, and Soshi Abe, from the gentle piano that underscores the opening world exploration to the rhythmic tension of enemy battles to the alien sounds that accompanied Sheikah technology. The soundtrack of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is also available to stream through Nintendo Music as an exclusive smart device app for Switch Online. Members featuring the music from an array of Nintendo titles ranging from the original Legend of Zelda game to Mario Galaxy, Kirby Forgotten Land, and more. But this is the set right here. This is the 8 set. Looks pretty amazing with the limited color variant. Obviously, this is what the $200 set here. You can see the art that's included with this stuff. Obviously, you know, the 2-pack is less and cheaper, but there you go. And I want to throw an additional addendum in here. In that interview with Bill Trinen, he's asked about this vinyl set. So apparently they knew about this vinyl set before the interview was done. Obviously, it didn't leak or anything, which is good. But what's interesting here is, well, he said that this vinyl set is Nintendo experimenting with the demand for physical music release in the United States. Now, I do find this a little interesting. I know vinyl has kind of become this thing that's been on the comeback, but there isn't actually like a music like CD version of this that you can buy. I'm kind of surprised. If you're going to experiment with physical formats in the US, you probably should bring the format that more people have access to and also is more affordable in the actual CD format. But what are you going to do? This is what they're choosing to go. They're going with the vinyl route. They want to test the demand. And obviously, if this goes on to sell well, we can see Nintendo bring more and more physical releases of music to the United States market. We can start seeing it come out for more anniversaries. Like this could be like for the 40th anniversary of Zelda is what it seems like it's lined up for. But you can see other anniversaries, maybe a Metroid one next year. It is also the 40th anniversary of Metroid. It would just be nice to see this sell well because it will convince Nintendo. I know it's expensive, but it will convince Nintendo to bring more and more physical releases to the United States. Again, they do have a cheaper version with just 34 tracks for $50. Again, would like to see them release full CDs or even the ability to buy full high quality sound versions of this. Like right now, the biggest thing Nintendo pushes is Nintendo Music. That was our first news story. And I love Nintendo Music. I obviously stream a lot of music in general, so I'm happy with Nintendo Music. However, it's not the highest quality all the time to stream. People want local versions, and there are people that sell like full music albums that have the high quality audio files associated with it that are quite large and often not used in streaming services, or if they are, there's some quality loss through the whole streaming process. They sell those albums. People like to buy it and listen to that higher version, quality version locally on their own hardware, their computer, their music players, whatever. I would like to see Nintendo also go that route. Like not just sell these, but go even digital and sell high quality albums with the high quality files that you can download locally through anywhere, all the various places that you can buy music from. I would like to see that become a thing as well. But hey, this is a step in the right direction. We'll see how well it sells. Man, I hope it's still available like a month from now when I can actually afford to pre-order. I can't afford to plop down that money right now because we have those giveaways going on. But next month, I would love to plop down and get my hands all over those juicy, juicy limited edition vinyls. All right. Now we got to get to some weird news, some unfortunate news, but it is what it is. There is leaks surrounding Pokopia. A playable demo I don't even want to call it a demo, a prototype version from the Terra leak has been recompiled from Unity. Apparently it was made in Unity and it is playable. We actually learned something really cool about who's making the games through all of this, but Pokopia, yeah, it's now playable and leaked online, at least a playable, it's not the full game. And it's not even what the game looks like today, but it's like a concept is playable, right? And it's over here at Central Leaks. We'll look at this in a moment. The Massive Terror Leak provided plenty of information on the Pokemon franchise, and now a playable version of the upcoming Pokopia found its way online. It's obviously an early version of the Pokemon farming sim and fully playable in Unity. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at this over here because there's something interesting about this. So you can see it right here. You can kind of see it going. We'll full screen this for a moment. Yeah, this is like an early, obviously, prototype stage. This is not what the final one looks like. You can see, this is more like we're just testing mechanics and all of that, testing out the idea of the game. And obviously, this is probably used as a presentation at some point. But what's more interesting about this story is that it originally was obviously more like Stardew Valley and Minecraft. But this is where the details get really cool. Yeah, there's a link to download. But interestingly, Pokopia was originally a Game Freak project. It was later that they decided to outsource it to Koei Tecmo. So Koei Tecmo is actually the ones making this game. And we have to make sure, to shout out who made this original discovery. It was actually not Central Leaks. It was this user, Rydog E, Freak Leak, Terror Leak. You see him talking about it on October 27th. I'm not kidding. I may have just found something effing huge. And then this is what he posted on the 27th. A screenshot of it. He didn't obviously show it running here, but he's got various screenshots of it. So the point is, he's the first person to discover this within the Terra Leak. Obviously, Central Leaks has the link to it being playable and all of that. So, I wish Central Leaks would give proper credit to who initially discovered this, but it is what it is. Central Leaks does this a lot where they don't always give credit, even though they end up being a fairly good source for Pokemon leaks. It's still like, I believe in giving proper credit, even in situations like this where we're dealing with nefarious ways in which things are leaking on the internet. So anyways, it's kind of cool, and we learned that Koei Tecmo is behind it. I think that's interesting. Let's move on now to our next story. There's an ongoing lawsuit between Pal World and Nintendo, or maybe we should reframe this correctly. The lawsuit is Pocket Pair versus the Pokemon Company and Nintendo. So TPC is actually the headliner of this lawsuit against Pocket Pair with Nintendo in support. Obviously, it's all like one shared legal team, so I don't know if that distinction matters much, but this has been the brux of ire of many online. A lot of people started getting super angry at Nintendo, and this whole wave of negativity that everyone thinks started with Switch 2 actually began with this very lawsuit a little over a year ago. And that is because Nintendo didn't go after them from copyright. It'd be one thing if they did that, if they could prove that Pocket Pair used Pokemon designs and some sort of generative AI thing to create their own stuff. Indeed, people would probably, if that was found to be true, be happy and siding with Nintendo on having their models being used in generative AI, which is not something that can be proven. It's not something that Nintendo's even pursuing. In fact, Nintendo's pursuing gameplay mechanics, and this is what has people upset. And I keep saying Nintendo, gotta remember, the Pokemon Company probably plays the bigger role here. Well, one of the patents Nintendo has filed for gameplay mechanics that are in relation to this have been nullified. The legal process has shot it down. Let's go to the story. Nintendo creature patent dealt blow amid Pal World lawsuit. So Japan's patent office has rejected a Nintendo application related to its Pal World lawsuit, citing a lack of originality. The decision raises questions about the validity of several Nintendo patents described creature capture mechanics, and they're central to the company's complaint against Pal World. September 19th marked the first anniversary of the Nintendo and Pokemon Company filing a joint patent lawsuit against Pal World developer Pocket Pair. The duo alleges that Pal World infringes upon 3 of their patents for creature capture and rideable creature switching. The case, brought in front of Tokyo District Court, has yet to make its way to trial. So we're not even to trial phase. It takes a long time for these lawsuits to really get there. So JPO says Nintendo's monster capture patent application isn't original. In late October 2025, the Japan Patent Office rejected Nintendo's patent application number 2024-031879, which is related to a family of creature capture patents that Pal World is accused of infringing. A JPO patent examiner found that the application lacks originality to be deemed an invention, citing prior art such as Monster Hunter 4, Ark Survival Evolved, Gacha browser game, Kantami Collection, and Pocket Pair's own Craftopia, and even Pokemon Go. All of these were released prior to the December 2021 priority date from the rejected application. Nintendo has 60 days from the date of its rejection to notice and amend its application or appeal the decision, giving it until late December 2025 to do so. Since the application isn't cited in the Palworld patent lawsuit directly, its rejection won't have a direct impact on the ongoing case. However, as explained by Game Phrase analyst Florian Mueller, the newly rejected application is a key building block in Nintendo's strategy to capture a wide range of creature capture system implementations. It is the child of patent JP7493117 and the parent of patent JP7545191, and both of those are cited in Nintendo's complaint. So, basically, to break this down in layman's terms, the patent that was rejected isn't actually part of the lawsuit against Pocket Pair and Palworld. However, one of the patents that relies upon this patent being valid is. So if this patent is invalid and Nintendo can't find a way to amend it to make it legal and valid, that would invalidate the patent that's a child of it and any other child patents of this patent. So one of the patents that are cited in the lawsuit would, by definition, no longer be valid. Now, this doesn't deal with the base patent that is the parent of the one being rejected. That one for now is being allowed and fully legal. So that doesn't mean that Nintendo still doesn't have a case here. But what it does mean is the case is significantly weakened should Nintendo not be able to find a way to get this patent approved again. So we'll have to wait and see what happens, of course. I have no horse in this race. Look, the legal process with this stuff, I used to never care about any of this crap growing up. Now that I'm an adult and we feel like we all have to have opinions on everything, and, you know, everyone's evil if they do lawsuits, or if they don't do lawsuits, they're pansies. Look, guys, I don't know what's right or wrong here. What I do know is it looks like Nintendo's going to lose this lawsuit. It looks like the lawsuit was probably frivolous. In my opinion, I feel like this is a frivolous lawsuit by Nintendo and the Pokemon Company. I'm not sure why they are doing it. I know a lot of people assume they're just doing it because Palworld is really popular. I guess that's the reason people cite, oh, it's shaming Pokemon. But then we see Pokemon selling gangbusters again. So it's very obvious Palworld probably isn't impacting the sales of Pokemon or the appeal of Pokemon at all. So I'm not really sure what the point of this lawsuit is at this point. Nintendo created some of these patents while the lawsuit was going on, or right before they filed the lawsuit, which is very strange. A lot of the patents are very generalized around capturing mechanics, so people already question, are these patents even legal in the first place? We're finding out one of them for sure wasn't. So look, I'm just going to sit back and let the legal process play out. It does seem frivolous. I don't feel like it would be good if Nintendo won this lawsuit. I don't think they will win this lawsuit, to be clear. And we'll have to wait and see what happens. Hasn't even gone to trial. Lots of stuff in between. It takes years for this stuff to process out. We probably won't have a resolution to this unless Nintendo drops the lawsuit. We probably won't have a resolution to this for many more years to come. This could be like a 4 or 5 year lawsuit for all we know, before it ever even gets to trial. Clearly, Nintendo wants to get at the trial. They feel like they have a strong case. And Pocket Pair is not backing down because they feel like they have a strong defense. And I want to be honest, they both have the money to do it. Pocket Pair might not be a $100 billion company like Nintendo, but Pocket Pair is doing well. They're doing very well financially. They continue to do well. They have another game coming out that's probably also going to do really well. So, yeah, Pocket Pair is fine. They can afford to deal with this. It's really unfortunate, though. People are going to view like Nintendo and Pokemon Company are bullying here. I get it. Look, all I can say is these lawsuits don't really pertain to us. This is all like rich companies going after each other, and what happens from it, we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know, man. Like, I feel like when we talk about things that are part of a legal process, so many of us don't really understand it. And I got to be honest, I don't fully understand it. I am not a lawyer. I don't understand these lawsuits. I don't understand what Nintendo's trying to do. I don't really even fully understand what Pocket Pair even has to defend. I gotta be honest, I don't understand this stuff. So my opinion on it is way above my pay grade to understand all this. I did not go to school to study law. So I'm just gonna sit back and let the legal process play out. And what happens, as happens every single time in these cases. Sometimes I'm okay with what Nintendo does with lawsuits and some of the outcomes, like when they go after people that are literally offering their games illegally online to download, and whether they're profiting or not, that is actually like a black and white in the US against the law. You cannot distribute ROMs online. That is literally against the law. It's a federal offense even. So I kind of side with Nintendo on that because otherwise those laws are meaningless if they can't be enforced in some way. But on the other hand, sometimes Nintendo does these lawsuits at times that I'm kind of like, really? Do we really need that? Is that really that big of a deal? You know, like, did you need to send a cease and desist and get RioJinx shut down? That's not even a US based thing. Do we need to do that? I don't know. Like, it is what it is. Nintendo's going to do what Nintendo's going to do. And look, I'm just here to play video games, man. And since I don't emulate and all this stuff, as long as you keep giving me the good games, I'll probably just not care about most of this in the end. But yeah, Nintendo probably going to lose this lawsuit. At least that's what it's trending towards. You know what's really cool, though? We have something like really neat. Limited Run Games had a event today, and you would think the news we're going to talk about coming out of that event is that there's a new Shantae game coming, except they didn't really show anything of it. They just kind of said a new Shantae game is coming and in development. That's cool. I'm really excited to see the 7th Shantae game continue. But I'm actually more excited about something that I've never been able to play because of how rare it is. One of the rarest NES games ever. Like, a majority of us that grew up during that era could never play this game is coming back in 2026. Rare NES platformer Little Samson is coming in 2026. We'll just give a brief little look here at it so you guys can understand what this game is. This was a game that released back in the NES era, but it didn't sell very well, and there were very few copies, and it's actually one of the rarest NES games out there. Very expensive to get your hands on it. So even if you just want to play it, chances are you're doing ROMs online. And I just said, I don't really do ROMs. I don't really do emulation online. So having this come back in an official, legal way in which I can play it next year is awesome. Look, I'm probably not going to beat it, to be honest, but I might pick it up just because I've always wanted it. And, you know, it's coming to Switch, PS, PlayStation 5, Steam, etc. And one of the cool things here is some of the announcements surrounding this. So as we look here, it says Limited Run Games has announced it's bringing the NES scrolling platform with Little Samson to Switch in 2026. It released in 1992, and that's one of the reasons why it became rare is because we were already kind of moving on to the Super Nintendo era at the time. And it was directed by former Capcom designer Shinichi Yomishoto, who made like Strider, Ghouls and Ghosts, etc. Little Samson sees you controlling one of 4 characters: the Eponus Samson, a dragon called Kikira, the golem Gam, or the mouse called KO. Each character controls a little different. But, you know, in more recent years, Little Samson has become something of a collector's item. It's infamously one of the more expensive NES games out there, with copies going for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars online. Well, that won't be a problem. Limited Run Games' Carbon Engine port will make it more accessible to all. Amazingly, we asked Limited Run Games' Josh Fairhurst about Little Samson when they were interviewing him back in 2022. Here's what they said back in 2022. It's super high on games I want to do, but no one knows where the rights are. We reached out to Tato, and they said they might be with the owner. So we found the owner, who was originally hard to find, and he said, I don't know who has the rights. So now we're basically at a dead end. Who has the rights to Little Samson? No idea. Obviously, they were able to figure it out. They wanted to do Little Samson years ago. They were able to figure out who has the rights. That is beautiful. Again, I still don't know who has the rights. It'll probably be stated somewhere in there, but I just wanted to point out that Little Samson, it's coming back. Those of us that remember this game or remember hearing about this game or have ever looked for the rarest NES games, we get a chance to play this game next year. All right. Last thing I want to talk about is eShop sales. We don't talk about eShop sales all that often unless it's extremely notable. And we have some of the best eShop sales today. I think even Cyberpunk is on sale, but let's go look at some of the sales that we have here over at Deku Deals, one of the best websites for tracking all of this stuff online. You see Dredge and Overcooked 2, super cheap, Spiritfarer, super cheap, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt down to 15, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. People always say, Nintendo games never go on sale. Well, dude, that game came out last year. Now it's $42. Echoes of Wisdom, an actual brand new game, not a re-release. That came out last winter. We're seeing that down to $45.99. See, Nintendo does do game sales. You just got to pay attention. You got to pay attention, but Nintendo does them. No Man's Sky, by the way, free update for Switch 2. You can now get that for $23.99. That's really cool. And there's a whole bunch of them. Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope down to $16.19, 73% off. Persona 5 Tactica, Kingdom Come Deliverance Royal Edition. That's a great price for how good that game is. Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection down to $20. Skyrim, that game's always on sale. Immortal Phoenix Rising, really good game. If you like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, you probably like this game. Yulia's playing through it right now on my Xbox. She's having a good time. But I believe Cyberpunk is even on sale. I haven't used this website in a while here. Let's just go by like release year 2025. Yeah, Cyberpunk right here, we're seeing down to $40. That's what I thought. The low, you can see it's got the tag lowest price ever. What an insane sale there when you see Cyberpunk down to $40, seeing Rune Factory down to $40, No Sleep for Konami down to $30, Split Fiction on sale as well. Mario Kart World. I don't know if this is just like, hey, we're putting this on sale for the holidays, or maybe Nintendo's realizing the $80 price point might not be palpable. Maybe 70 is what the game should have been at. I'm just saying. I know this isn't a physical sale, it's a digital sale, but I'm just pointing out here, the launch game for Switch 2 is on sale. I don't know if that's ever happened this quickly before. Kirby and the Forgotten Land with the Starcross World. Again, an $80 thing that included the DLC down to $7. Again, Nintendo might be recognizing this $80 price just might not work in the marketplace. Our speaking with our wallets might be working. Anyway, scrolling down, seeing Lost in Random Eternal Drive, The Chronos of New Dawn, Super Mario Party Jamboree as well. Again, another 80. You see this? Another 80. Dude, you see what's happening? Madden's down to $40 already. Yakuza 0 Director's Cut's down. Man, look at this. Star Wars Outlaws down to $52. Breath of the Wild down to $62. The Switch 2 edition. Guys, this is a great sale, and there's going to be obviously more. We can spend all day going through all the various sales. I'll put a link to this down below if you want to go take a look at it, guys. This is one of the best sales we have seen so far in 2025. And again, those $80 Nintendo games. Nintendo's bringing those prices down already. I know it could just be temporary, could just be holidays. I get it, but when have we ever seen that this soon? See, Nintendo listens. Nintendo can learn. They're playing around. They're seeing if it sells better at this price than at 80. So anyways, guys, let me know what you think about this all down in the comments below. I am Nathaniel Jets from Nintendo Prime. And as always, I'll catch you in the next video.